Alright, Yepa loves chicharrones community. We're back with another Day of On Earth video and a big update. One of the best updates we've ever had, and there will be players who, after watching this video, will consider it the best update ever. But well, of course, to each their own. What's clear is that this is a mega update with big changes in the laboratory, but above all, the main part is that we have a new and revamped swamp area. Well, now let's get into it. I'll start by discussing the first part, which is the change in the laboratory. Because also in story mode, when we start doing the survivor's path, okay, they're going to add 2 new chapters for us, such as Operation Deadwater and Heavy Machinery, a series of missions that have to be done in the laboratory. When you see this video, the update still won't be out yet. It'll take another 1 or 2 weeks. Everything I'm showing you here is from my alpha account, okay? This is an account that's a copy of my account, okay? But it's not my real account. It's the one I use to test the alpha and show you everything that's coming in the update. Check out the rework they've done in the lab. The top part is already different. See how now we can't just put this in here, but we can also put these cards in as well? Because they've removed the whole chest system, okay? Where we used to exchange all those resources, all those weapons, all that kind of stuff. So if anyone still has these kinds of cards and these kinds of resources and wants to get the old rewards, do it before the update comes out. What is all this for? Well, it's simply to increase your reputation with our friends from the lab. Now, all of this is like a monthly event that's going to happen. Each season will have, so to speak, the lab event, where we can earn these cards, get all these resources, turn them in, increase our reputation with the Genesis scientists, and win a ton of rewards we have here. You can see we have premium currency. This is the currency we'll use to buy this Genesis credit. The new rewards we have in the store. And you can see there are free rewards again, and premium rewards. And I don't know how it will be in the final version, but you can see that the currency is mainly in the premium rewards. There are a lot of these coins, but most of the rewards are in the free pass. Here are 2 black market stores as usual. One that is permanent for the whole event, where we can earn cats, drone blueprints, and ATV transmissions. Pretty good rewards. I don't know if this will change every season or if it will always stay like this. But anyway, we can already see some pretty good rewards here, and then a bunch of resources that you'll get as rewards, resources that you'll see we're going to need, and some of them you'll see that you won't recognize right now, like that piece of protective fabric. All these kinds of resources are going to be needed now with the swamp update more than ever. The adjacent room has also changed, but for now, this will be useful for story mode. When we do these missions, as soon as the update comes out, we'll do all of this live and in videos, okay? And you'll see this whole story mode. But for now, it doesn't have any practical use once we've completed all the missions. And now let's talk about the rebalancing of the laboratory itself. It's been rebalanced. I think it's going to be a little more difficult now. But it's true that the laboratory has been around for a very, very long time, and it's an area where people didn't really go much anymore. Look, when we arrive at the laboratory, look at the types of zombies we have here. Infected laboratory assistant. In normal mode, we're going to find these zombies that we'll have to defeat if we want to do it efficiently with anti-spore weapons. Because with normal weapons, see how I only hit him for 4? Alright, it's 7 when we get a critical hit, okay? And if we hit him with a rifle, then we do the full damage. You see that the mini Uzi should be doing 13 damage, and yet it's only doing 4, just a third, okay? And this weapon, you know, the rifle does 10, so it does 10. We multiply the damage by 4, and it ends up at 40. This is going to make the laboratory a bit more expensive later on, especially normal mode, which we could do before with melee weapons. And now, even with firearms, right? Because if we come in with melee weapons, it's exactly the same. Look at the katana. What pathetic damage we're doing. Also, remember that when they hit us, they leave spore damage. Let it hit or spit at me so you can see the spore damage increase. Notice how it's changed a bit. Alright, the image shows how the spore damage increases, okay? But all of this is going to be a bit more expensive. It's going to be a bit more difficult. You can already see the rewards we're going to find in the boxes. They're basically the same. But it's definitely a major facelift for the laboratory, which we used to visit only occasionally, just in case we wanted to raise our reputation a bit. And now we're going to have a sort of event every season. We'll have to see if this is profitable, if we can get the most out of it. We'll do it little by little. But you can see that the laboratory has undergone a rework in terms of rewards and the delivery of cards and items. And of course, with the zombies, we're going to encounter... In normal mode, using anti-spore weapons is a disadvantage. In protocol mode, each person must decide if this is an advantage or disadvantage. Since in protocol mode, they're also anti-spore zombies. You can see how we deal full damage when we shoot with this weapon. But if you shoot with the Genesis weapon, you see we're only doing 6 or 8 damage when the weapon actually does 15. Alright, it's clear that those zombies, even though we're already seeing the symbol, right? If we go to any of the zombies, we quickly see the spore symbol. That tells us we have to attack the zombies with these anti-spore weapons. We'll make guides when the final version comes out, but it's definitely going to take some getting used to. Coming to the lab both in normal mode and protocol mode without Genesis weapons and with anti-spore weapons. As I was saying, to unlock these two new areas, well, more like the lab rework, and definitely this new swamp area, or this revamped swamp area, you have to progress through the missions in the Survivor's Path. These two new chapters, the Heavy Machinery one and the Deadwater Operation one. I have to say, this cover art is incredible. The cover we have now in the game, this is what we're going to see when we load the game after we update. But like I was saying, we're going to have to do all these missions, and these missions, they include visiting all these areas to talk to the Genesis people we have there. These areas are similar to the exploration event areas. Those areas that later became permanent, and the ones from the anniversary event. In other words, huge areas where we have a lot of land to explore. But all of them also have a camp where we can talk and interact with the people we have here, mainly to progress in the story mode. Be careful, because at the Watchtower, we're going to find the first of the mini-bosses, or the first boss that we're going to encounter, the Irradiator. You can see it there, and you can already see how we're going to have to defeat all these zombies if we want to beat it properly with Genesis weapons. We'll see all of that now, we'll explain it, but you'll see just how many different types of zombies there are. Zombies that throw bombs at us, zombies that explode, all of that we'll see, but you'll see how we have to go after the first boss, which is the Irradiator, a boss that's not too complicated. But it is quite spectacular. Alright, we get there. We'll have to get out of the off-road vehicle, and we'll have to defeat it. You can see it. All these zombies. They have the Genesis weapon symbol. So even though I brought the mini Uzi, we won't be able to use it. I mean, we could, but we'll do much less damage. And you can see the Irradiator, which has its own combat system. Pretty fun. Alright, it's gonna drop a ton of toxic bombs on us. You have to understand that the swamp area is radioactive. All the damage we take here, it's going to increase our radiation levels and all that. We have to avoid it with our vials, our pills, and our protective clothing. NBC, NRBC. Alright, all of this. But look, it's summoning waves at us, it's throwing things, it's bombing us from everywhere. Like I said, it's not overly complicated, but it's definitely spectacular to watch. Obviously, I imagine they'll give us this as a mission later on, because, as you've seen, here we're also going to have daily missions and a final boss. But be careful, as we'll see later, all of this has also undergone a lot of improvements. Not just this renewed swamp area, but also the bosses we already had, Borealis and Concilium. Now, aside from the Watchtower, we have two other farming areas, the Swampy Forest, and obviously this marsh. In these areas, we'll be able to collect chests and gather a ton of resources. We're going to visit some of them and see how these areas work. But as I mentioned, they're similar to or inspired by those permanent areas we already have from the exploration event, like the quarantine zone, the frozen training field, and the green area we have to the east of the map. Look, we enter the area, and you can already see on the minimap that we have several directions to go. All of those are the camps where we'll find the chests. Along the way, we can already start gathering ashwood. Although for that, you're going to be amazed, because look, if you bring an iron hatchet, it won't work for you. It tells us we need a chainsaw. This chainsaw can be obtained with Genomes. We'll go over everything. The recipe is in the swamp section. It costs us 2,000 Genomes, and it's a reliable tool to get any type of wood. This will be useful again for getting ashwood in the more advanced area. So for now, until the expedition is done, anyone who needs ashwood in industrial quantities, make sure to farm a lot, because as soon as the update arrives, especially at the beginning, it's going to be much harder to get it. Now let's go to the area. We're going to look for a camp. Like I said, this is a huge, gigantic area. We'll see if someone makes a map for us when the update comes out to make this a bit easier. But look, we already have those explosive zombies there that are going to jump on us. As always, we have these boxes that we can open with a hook. You just stick the hook in, pull back with the off-road vehicle until you rip off the lid, and then you can check everything inside. The items, as you can see, aren't bad. Ashwood, a pistol, items that can be good, but you have to consider it, because these items aren't cheap to make. It's true that the MK2 grappling hook lasts quite a while and works for a lot of boxes, but you have to decide if it's worth it or not, and all that comes with playing. Let's keep moving forward and check out some of the items and animals. Look, we have an alligator. Let's take down the alligator. You can see you have to kill it with this weapon, the Genesis weapon, because otherwise it won't be any use. Here we'll see some of the items you can collect in these areas. Alligator skin, which is going to be super important. We'll see later how many things it's used for. Here we're going to pick up these little flowers. See these flowers around here? There are a ton of new items you can collect here. These are the sprouts. Now they're much easier to get, but they're going to have a bit more use than before. Look, we've reached our first camp, and this one is amazing. This camp is really cool. I'm going to get out of here because a lot of people are coming after me. I'll park the off-road vehicle a bit farther away, move it out of the way, and start taking out the enemies from a bit of a distance. Notice how the explosive ones attack up close while others shoot from afar. There are also the big fuse giants. They explode twice, okay? First, you knock off those spores, and then when you take one down, boom, their health drops and they explode. Be careful not to step out, okay? Because your radiation level will go up. You can see this swamp is radioactive, so when you get out of here, notice how our radiation level starts to rise. I'm going to let it go all the way up, okay? Because this radiation has something interesting and a difference. Compared to the other infections, this radiation can't be removed in the usual way by just waiting. And if we stay here, it will keep increasing. You see, it's giving us more stacks each time. Every stack will take away 10 maximum health. And when we leave here, for example, if we get 3 stacks and then go back in here, it will keep going up. There's no way to recover from this normally. You have to take either a pill or an injection. This pill will remove 10 and increase your resistance. I had already taken one, but each of these will increase it by 10 just once. This is temporary. You see that pills and injections have a timer. They both give you 10 resistance each. The only difference is that this one removes less for radiation, and this one removes more. But like I said, once the radiation is in the red, we have to use either pills or injections. Let's go to the camp. In this camp, we also have an irradiator, which we'll find around here. It's definitely much easier. And let's see, because we have 2 floors now, something we've been asking for in the base for a long time, and the decontaminator is dead, we don't have this. All right, you see, it's not really that complicated. But check out how cool this little ramp is, man. It's the first time we've seen something like this, really. 2 floors. Sure, we've seen it a few times in Bravo. Sometimes there's a kind of level, but something this high, a second floor like this, I don't think we've ever seen before. And watch out, because in these camps, obviously, we're going to have chests where we'll get rewards. But these camps are really cool because they are different from the camps we already knew. The barricades, we can actually repair them, all right? That way we can make the defense a bit easier if we add a little wood. You see, we put a barricade there, which is going to make it harder for them to get past our defenses. We have a few barricades, and if we need more, well, we can keep adding them. We can keep putting things in the way. But these barricades will make it easier for us to defend. And you already know this is a kind of extractor. But now there are a bunch of different types. And here we're going to collect a giant oak log. But it's really just a chest that has oak inside. We'll see it later. To activate this area, we need a setivation unit, which we'll see later how to craft or get. But also we have the advantage. And now I've unlocked another new item for you, which we have in the Genesis store, in the Swamp version, in the Marsh version. These are the recipes for these 3 turrets, okay? The portable turret T1, the T2, and the T3 like the Terminator, okay? I'm going to place one so you can see it, taking advantage of the moment, and that way you can see how it works. And as a bonus track, there's a change to the Genesis shotgun, a weapon that I think was the worst of all, okay? Even though I liked it quite a bit, it was the worst of all. But watch out, because now we have our pistol, which shoots normally, but the Genesis shotgun, by itself, without any modification, shoots in a cone, okay? So for these defenses, it's going to be super useful for us, since we don't have a spread shot shotgun because these are creatures with Genesis armor, okay? Well, we have this type of shotgun. We start this. The turret is going to help us. In fact, I'm going to leave the turret for those who are closer, for those who come in closer. Notice that since they're back there, I can keep shooting without them rushing at us, okay? I'll let them break some of the structures so the turret can shoot. We could even climb up here, okay? To shoot from up here, which I think is the best. Defending from the top. But I do want them to break some of the defenses so you can see how that turret works. And while we're at it, man, if we have the shotgun, let's use it so you can see that too. How we took out those 4 or 5 zombies we had there. And actually, it's a good strategy to let a bunch of them pile up. When all these zombies come, with a single shot, we can take out a lot of them. Especially all these zombies that have low health, like 30 health. Although the turret will take care of them. Perfectly well. But the turrets are going to be expensive to get, expensive to make. And hey, if we can take a shot here and hit a bunch of zombies, unless I miss, of course, if I stand sideways, it's going to be tricky. Definitely. The shotgun is a great addition to the defenses. Another change that happened, which I think is super cool, is that now it shows us the remaining defense time, which it didn't before, okay? In these extractions, now it does show it. So now we'll know exactly when we have to stop defending, or when we have the urgency to defend. They're shooting at us there. We fire a spread shot here. If we see them piling up, we shoot another one here and get rid of them. And no problem, we take this one. Whoa, wait a second. Careful, these yellow puddles increase our radiation too, so we have to watch out for them. Now, two things. I'll say El Chicha, but the turret barely used up any durability. It's fine. You can pick up the turret and take it with you again to use it whenever you want. The durability doesn't go down because they hit it, it just wears out over time. When it's shooting, that's just the ammo the turret has left. And here we just have to pick up this chest or tell our robo-dog, please take this to my vehicle so I don't have to carry it myself. He does it himself, brings it over, puts it inside the vehicle, and we don't have to do anything else here. But with the addition of this update and this new boss, this Leviathan, they've changed something that's going to be really good for players who don't even want to or can't go to the swamp area. Now, all these bosses that used to require 15 daily missions to complete now only need 3 missions, all of them. Look, the Leviathan, for example, asked for 3. Right now, we have 1 out of 3. Concilium is also asking us for 0 out of 3. Additionally, they've increased the genomes they'll provide, such as in this case with Concilium. It goes from 300 to 450. It didn't make sense for it to give the same genomes that Borealis gave us, because it was the easier boss. But now, every day, we'll be able to do 3 missions and 1 boss. Whoever wants can do 9 missions and the boss, and all 3 bosses if they want. But everyone will be able to get genomes much faster. And on top of that, if you're like me, a player who says, hey, in a little while I can do the missions and the boss, you'll be able to kill Borealis every day just by doing 3 missions, which are usually easy and quick, and 1 boss, which if you bring the right weapons, isn't complicated at all. Here's something interesting. As you can see, we can have both dogs at the same time, because the robo-dog doesn't replace the loyal companion. It's simply a companion pet, like the drone, okay? Or rather, a companion object more than an animal, right? So we can easily have our loyal companion. There's no need to choose. And obviously, as you can see, it gave us our 300 genomes. We had 935, and now we have 1,235. That gives us double the capacity. Because we can bring our Robodog not only with the chest we carry, but also with its 5 slots, and we can also bring our loyal companion with the other 5 additional slots. The hard part will be choosing and selecting the dog we want. The rewards, as you can see, haven't changed. Some basic clothing items and some resources, a few things. That hasn't changed. You know that here, the final rewards are always a bit random. Some days are better, some days are worse. Of course, the most important part is the genomes, especially with this change to the bosses. Although it's true that we have more and more options in the Genesis store, it's also getting easier to get genomes. But speaking of bosses, let's take a look at the final boss of this update, the Leviathan. Remember, there's an achievement that many people have gotten by killing other types of crocodiles, but it's this one. This is the boss, the Leviathan. Let's enter the area and see how to face this boss, which I think is a bit challenging. Not too much, but above all, I find it super fun. Look, we arrive at the area with Genesis weapons. You know that throughout the swamp area, we'll need Genesis weapons. And here it tells us to lure the Leviathan out of the water. We go through a corridor of some ruins and reach a water area. Contaminated water, radioactive water that we'll have to get past, go over. We can use the rolling ability, but it's not necessary. The radiation doesn't go up too much. We have a generator that needs to be activated to electrify the water, and that way, make the Leviathan come out. As soon as we activate the generator, the Leviathan appears with 4,000 health. A lot. I forgot to set up the turret in time, but that's fine. We'll handle this first part without it. The fight has several phases, and this is just the first. We've already seen 2 different attacks, including one where it jumps and creates a circle. It jumps toward that area and does area damage, but at the same time, it shoots out jets of radioactive water that are easy to get hit by. That makes our radiation level go up. And there's a second type of attack it does, a frontal attack, like the blind one, exactly the same, a charge. And besides that, a bunch of explosions, also from that radioactive water. You've already seen that it's all over the map, and it hurts us. And of course, it increases our radiation, which, as I explained before, you'll have to get rid of with these vials or these pills. Anti-radiation, the space isn't very big, so you have to move well. And you have to lower its health until you take off about a third. Okay, you can see it's at 1,965 now. When its health drops a bit more, you'll see how the Cayman, the Leviathan Cayman, changes phase. 2,800 approximately. When we lower about a third of its health, zombies start to appear. Waves of zombies with 30 health start coming out. It's not a lot. Okay, we could put a turret here, but it doesn't make sense anymore. Why? Because when it gets here, you can do what I was doing here. This was the first time I killed it, and just stay here. But zombies come out endlessly. What you have to do when you defeat the Leviathan on the first platform is move to the second one. Notice that you have to cross the water, okay? And you'll see that on the second platform, there's another generator, and there's another area where we can stay. So we have to cross the radioactive water. Be careful, because as we cross, the Leviathan will attack us. So bring healing. If you do it right, the radiation won't go up to the maximum. Wait until your radiation goes down, since they'll attack you. The Leviathan's second phase won't start until you activate the generator. But be careful, they'll keep coming. There will be wave after wave of zombies coming out. If you bring a turret, that's fine, although I'm telling you, it's not necessary. Place it before summoning the Leviathan. It comes out again with the same attacks. Like I said, it's a super fun system. The Leviathan is really tough. Okay, and here it starts attacking the turret. We'll see if this can help us in the future as a strategy. Okay, deploying the turret. But like I said, turrets are pretty expensive and it's not necessary. It's true that we'll avoid it attacking us. At least a couple of attacks. And also the turret will deal damage. But there's no need to bring a turret. The same thing happens again. We have to move to another area. Okay? But now we have to take a short break. Okay, on this small platform we have here, so the radiation goes down, we could go straight through and get rid of it at the end, but it's better to stay here, okay? Get rid of the radiation on this small platform. And once we've gotten rid of the radiation, move on to the third and final platform. Be careful, because the Leviathan will always attack us on the way, between one platform and another, when we're in the water. But once we reach the platform, the Leviathan won't come out until we activate the generator. We activate it again, and the Leviathan comes out again. You can see there's no need to set up a turret. We're doing it perfectly. Just with an equalizer or any Genesis weapon, we can do it perfectly. You see that all the zombies, including the Leviathan, have the Genesis symbol. Okay, so we need that type of weapon to pierce the armor. You know that the ones we set up also have it. Genesis modification, which means they pierce the armor of the Cayman and the rest of the zombies. You can see it. It has 900 health left. Now you just have to attack it, dodge its attacks until it goes down. Notice that it has a third attack, which you've also seen already. It's this tail swipe it does as well, right? It covers 180 degrees. Most of the attacks the Leviathan does are area attacks. So you have to be very careful and always pay attention to healing and removing radiation. But like I said, if we're constantly moving, dodging, healing, and killing the enemies that appear as well, obviously with a simple Genesis weapon, with a couple or 3 copies of the equalizer, or the shotgun, or the neutralizer, which is the pistol, even with an ultimatum, we could do it perfectly. You can see it there. 600 genomes. Which is the real reward. You already know that's the final reward. There's always a chest. But it's a little random. There's a chance it will give us really good rewards. We get here and open this door. There's also a zombie in there that's stuck. And we open the chest. And like I said, I didn't get any special item here. I think it gave me some steel, if I remember correctly. Steel, titanium alloy. And you've already seen some items it can give you. You saw at the beginning that it can give us some clothes or something special like that, right? But anyway, the items aren't bad. But like I said, the real reward is the 600 genomes, which is double from what the bosses were giving us until now. A huge boss. Fun, right? With a certain level of difficulty, so it's not too easy, but not too hard either, so everyone can enjoy it. And watch out for Citizen K. They've already given us some hints about Bunker Charlie in story mode. They tell us a little bit about Bunker Charlie, and here we see the helicopter again. It seems like Kefir keeps playing with us and shows us images of the helicopter from time to time, or some conversation about Bunker Charlie. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get to enjoy them. Look guys, since we're at the base, let's check out the new recipes we have in the Genesis store. There are quite a few, right? In the Swamps version, we have this new robot dog that you have to get from here, okay? You can also see that it says, kill the Leviathan 10 times. So it's going to take us a few days to get it. But you've already seen how important it is, so we have to get to it. We have a ton of upgrade recipes for workbenches. The press, the hydroponic garden, and the laboratory, which you'll see now is even more important. The circular saw lets you open chests faster, the chemistry station, and of course the recycler. You're going to like this one. It increases the capacity to 40, so we'll be able to recycle everything. Much faster, 40 at a time. Now this really won't stop. And of course, there's also the garage upgrade. The 4 garage upgrades that will unlock all the recipes for all the gadgets, okay? The machine gun, the tracks, the caterpillar wheels, all of that, which the all-terrain vehicle uses. There are a ton of really interesting things we can buy, like the new weapon recipes for the Resonator and the Protector. This shotgun now has built-in spread shot. But this chair, the Swamp Guardian, isn't just a decoration. It also says it temporarily increases your radiation resistance. You'll have to kill the Leviathan a bunch of times, okay? But I don't know if you sit here and then run off. Maybe for 10 minutes you have a bit more radiation resistance, and that lets you save a little on clothing. You don't need highly radiation-resistant clothes in the swamp area. Some of the skins are amazing. We have 2 new ones. This is the Genesis model skin, which is available here. Let's look at the other one. You're going to love it. This one is fine, but the other is incredible. There are also backpack and clothing skins. This backpack claims to have a strength enhancement system, but it's just the Genesis backpack you see here. And this exoskeleton, okay? It's this Genesis outfit with that metal exoskeleton we have there, which in theory would help us be stronger. But anyway, it's simply a clothing skin and a backpack skin, obviously. The turrets, all these turrets, the 3 turrets we have here, the T1, the T2, and the T3, and a bunch of resources, okay, that we can buy. But these options were already available before. We have a level 1 ingot shelf, okay? A new storage unit. Don't pay attention to the image because I'm sure they just took this image, I imagine. It's probably a small issue. You know, we're in the alpha, okay? And this is the part storage, but it's actually an ingot shelf. The final version will likely be the small one shown here, not the large one. And of course, the chainsaw recipe. Because from now on, if we want to get ashwood, we'll have to unlock the chainsaw recipe. I recommend you farm some ashwood, or even more than 1 batch, before the expansion arrives. Because it will be a bit more complicated to get ashwood, especially at the beginning. In the off-road vehicle garage, just like with the motorcycle, we have a section to view the skins. The good news is that we have a super cool skin, which is the Road Warrior. We have the normal version and the Genesis version. More will be released later. More. But the good and bad part at the same time, the good part is that this is spectacular, the Road Warrior one. I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful. The thing is, it tells us that it can be purchased in the store. So maybe it will cost money. I'm saying this in the alpha version. It doesn't show up anywhere. It will likely cost money, though it might become free later, but they're definitely adding skins. Even though right now we only have this one, which is a bit more basic, more like a tank type, don't worry because this is just the beginning. And even if we can't get some of the skins that cost money, I'm sure we'll get skins this beautiful or even better in the future. The new resources we have for crafting, all these new items you've just seen and are about to see, are this alligator skin which we can turn into tough leather and the tough belt. We'll see where to find that. This one. You've already seen that by killing alligators in the swamp. This piece of protective fabric, which we can get, for example, in the laboratory event, can be made into protective fabric and reinforced fabric. Corn, which we've had until now and can still be obtained in the laboratory, is used to make cornstarch. You'll see what all of this is for now. And this antimony, which is used to make reinforced antimony. And something important like the lead ingots, which we couldn't make until now and are important for many things. We're also going to be able to craft them thanks to these lead chests, which we can keep getting in the swamp chest, although in a new way. Not like before, but in this type of camp that we've seen, where we'll be able to collect chests. These starter units aren't cheap. When we unlock the recipe, they'll give it to us in the Survivor's Path, in the Heavy Machinery chapter, the first one, where it's unlocked in the new lab area. We'll unlock it in the tool unit. It's a bit expensive since it needs titanium, but the rest is cheaper. Still, it's essential to start those drills that we have in the swamp area. Now, there are tables that, until now, we barely used or didn't use at all. And now we're going to use them a bit more. For example, the chemistry table, which will allow us to make this cornstarch. The sewing tables, okay, the tanning table, which will let us make tough leather from crocodile skin. And of course, the sewing table, which lets us make protective fabric from this cloth. And from tough leather, make belts. And at the press, which we can now use, we can make reinforced fabric from protective fabric and reinforced antimony, which we'll see now. And the lead plate, which is super expensive to make right now. Because we need to make 2 lead ingots and 1 reinforced antimony. The reinforced antimony is made at the stonemason tables, okay? Simply, without fuel or anything else. We put this antimony, which you can find in the swamp chests, and as you can see here, I have an image of how I put it in the saw. Now it asks us for the resources to open it. Antimony box, which inside gives us about 80 to 100 antimony, okay? And we can refine that at the stonemason table. And of course, in the smelting furnaces is where we can smelt these lead ingots, which was the item we still needed to see. All of this is going to be useful for us to craft a lot of things, like for example the chainsaw, which is a recipe we have to unlock. The turrets, as you can see, are already asking us for some of the new items as well. Of course, when it comes to weapons, since we've unlocked some of the weapons to craft now, like the equalizer and the protector. The resonator, you can see that some of them require lead or antimony. And of course, another new feature is that now you can craft RBQ clothing. The NBQ recipe has changed, okay, because now it requires protective fabric. But the NRBQ is something that couldn't be crafted until now, and now you can. It requires reinforced fabric, tough leather, all those kinds of things. Anyway, guys, I think the update is amazing. And thinking about where you're going to put your robot dog station, which takes up 2x2, that's not very difficult. But your garage inside the turret area, which is a 4x4, and even though we add this side section, surely many bases, like mine, are going to need a renovation so that everything fits and is practical and looks good. Guys, leave me a comment down below if you thought this update was as awesome as I did, if you thought it was as spectacular. If you liked the video, leave me a like, share it with all your friends. We just have to wait a week or two for the update to arrive. And you know, here, the most important thing is to outdo yourself, surpass yourself, and be worthy.